So the reason you don't have a humanoid robot folding your laundry right now isn't because the AI isn't smart enough. It's actually because, well, we literally cannot afford to build its elbows.
Right, which is something people completely overlook.
Exactly. I mean, we see these viral videos of a machine doing parkour or like a backflip, and we immediately assume the breakthrough was all software. We just think robotics is purely a computer science problem, Like the AI finally learned how to jump.
Yeah, which completely ignores the physical bottleneck. I mean, you can have the most elegant, sophisticated algorithm in the entire world, but without the physical hardware.
The actual muscles.
Exactly, the micro joints, the precision gears, the high torque actuators. Without all that brilliant AI is really just code trapped inside a server. It simply can't impact the physical world.
And that is exactly our mission for today's deep dive. We are stripping away the AI hype to really look at the brutal, cash-burning mechanical reality of the modern humanoid robot industry.
It's a fascinating reality, too.
It really is. We're going to uncover who is actually building the muscles and joints of these machines and the financial thriller happening behind the scenes to mass produce them.
Yeah.
And to do this, we are pulling from two very different but intimately connected sources. First, we have a May 2025 trade show press release from a company called Leader Drive. They're a pioneer in precision motion control.
Right, from the Automate 2025 show.
Yep, in Detroit. And then we transition from that flashy trade show floor to the raw, unvarnished financial ledgers.
This is where it gets really gritty.
Oh, for sure. Our second source is a highly detailed, confidential January 2026 draft IPO prospectus for the Hong Kong Stock Exchange.
The application proof.
Right. It's from Zhejiang Leifuel Drive Co., Ltd., which is this massive dominant player in robotic precision transmission. So we'll start by looking at the fascinating technology itself, like what actually makes a robot hand move like a human hand, and then seamlessly transition into the economic war of actually building these things.
Because it really is an economic war right now.
Okay, let's unpack this. Why is it so difficult to make a robot wrist or hand? What's the core engineering hurdle here?
What's fascinating here is the challenge of the size to strength ratio.
Okay.
I mean, if you want a traditional industrial robot arm to, say, lift a heavy car chassis, the solution is pretty simple. You just use a bigger motor and a massive gear system.
Right, you just scale everything up.
Exactly. But a humanoid robot is constrained by human geometry. You cannot have a robot with wrists the size of watermelons.
Yeah, it wouldn't even be able to fit through a door, let alone use human tools.
Right. So under Leader Drive's motto, which is innovation drives development, dream drives the future, they are literally trying to move robots from the lab to the real world by solving this exact size to strength ratio.
So the engineering hurdle is just staggering. Think of these components as requiring the delicate precision of a Swiss watchmaker, but combined with the brute strength of an Olympic weightlifter.
That's a perfect way to describe it.
Because it's like trying to fit the engine of a Ford F-150 inside a coffee mug without it melting the ceramic. You have to pack immense rotational force into an ultra-compact form factor.
And it still needs to be delicate enough to hand you a glass of water without shattering it.
Right. So back in May 2025, Leader Drive is at booth 613 at the Automate show in Detroit, and their whole showcase is focused on this, giving robots human-like dexterity.
Yeah, and that tension between brute force and microscopic precision is why they showcased their microharmonic reducers. Specifically, they brought out the size 3, size 5, and size 8 reducers.
Those are tiny, right?
Extremely tiny. They are built specifically for the dexterous hands and wrists of humanoid robots for those delicate tasks.
So what exactly is a harmonic reducer?
Well, it's a highly specialized mechanical gear system designed to transmit motion with zero backlash.
Zero backlash, meaning?
Meaning no loose wiggle room between the gear teeth. It uses this wave generator that literally deforms a flexible gear to mesh with an outer rigid ring.
Wow. That sounds incredibly complex to manufacture at a normal scale, let alone shrinking it down to a size 3 for a robotic finger.
Oh, absolutely. When you scale down metal components to that degree, heat dissipation, friction, and material fatigue just become exponential nightmares.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. And that's just for the delicate movements.
Right. For the heavier lifting, acting as the muscles for the limbs, Leader Drive introduced their KGU rotary actuators. These range from the KGU-08 to KGU-25.
High torque integrated actuators.
Exactly. And then, for linear motion, they brought out these inverted planetary roller screws.
Okay, the press release mentions they handle high load capacity for linear transmission in a compact form. But, like, how exactly does a planetary mechanism solve the load problem?
Well, instead of a simple screw and nut, which would probably just snap or bind under the immense weight of a walking robot, this system uses threaded rollers. Imagine these rollers orbiting a central threaded shaft, much like planets orbiting a sun. This distributes the heavy mechanical load and friction across multiple, continuously moving contact points.
Ah, so it's not all resting on one single thread.
Right. It allows the component to push or pull massive amounts of weight smoothly without structural failure, all within this tiny little cylinder.
That is wild. So leader drive proves the physics of a robot wrist are actually possible. But, building a few brilliant prototypes for a booth in Detroit is a very different reality from mass producing hundreds of thousands of them.
Without going completely bankrupt, yeah.
Exactly. So let's look at what happens when these engineering marvels hit the factory floor. Who is actually supplying the global market with these components?
This is where Zhejiang Lifewell's 2026 draft prospectus just becomes a goldmine. It really strips away the marketing speak.
And shows the sheer economic trauma of scaling deep tech hardware.
Truly.
Because Leifel is not a startup. They are China's #2 robotic harmonic reducer provider. They had a 21.4% market share in terms of shipment volume in 2025.
#2 in revenue that year as well.
Right. And they are one of only 2 domestic manufacturers in China to achieve mass delivery specifically for humanoid robots.
That concentration of expertise is super telling. Thousands of companies are trying to build the software brain, but almost no one has the capacity to build the physical joints at scale.
And their technical specs are just world class. Like their harmonic reducers achieve a positioning precision of plus or minus 15 arc seconds.
Which is mind-blowing.
Yeah, for you listening, an arc second is 1/3600th of a degree. It's surgical level precision.
And they guarantee a service life exceeding 10,000 hours under all that stress.
Right. And to do that, they run a completely vertically integrated model.
Yeah, in-house heat treatment, precision machining, gear machining. They do it all themselves. They even opened a massive new production facility in Shaoxing in August 2025.
Which boosted their design monthly capacity up to 39.6 thousand units.
Exactly.
But here's where it gets really interesting and where I kind of got stuck on the math. Leifel sold over 291,000 harmonic reducers in 2025 alone.
A huge volume.
Yeah, and their revenue exploded by 142% to nearly 261 million RMB. But wait, they reported a net loss of 170.6 million RMB that same year. How do you sell almost 300,000 units, dominate the market, and still lose that much money?
Right, it looks like a massive failure on paper. But this is a classic economic thriller in the hardware world and is specifically tied to something called Chapter 18C.
Okay, what does Chapter 18C have to do with losing 170 million RMB?
Well, Chapter 18C is a listing pathway on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange for a specialist technology company. The exchange realized that advanced robotics firms require staggering capital expenditure years before the true market demand materializes.
Oh, so it lets them go public based on tech viability, even while they're bleeding cash.
Exactly. You have massive early investments in factory capacity, like that Shaxing plant, just to anticipate future demand. That means high depreciation hitting the books early.
So they are building the empire before the invasion starts.
Precisely. And then you have the massive R&D burn. In 2025, their R&D spending was 55.7% of their total operating expenditure.
Over half. Just to maintain that 15 arc second precision, I bet.
Yeah, constantly prototyping new material processes.
Yeah.
And then there's also a purely financial weight on the ledger. They had 145 million RMB hit related to accounting changes for redemption liabilities.
Right, which is just a paper loss as the company valuation changes, no actual cash leaving the building.
Exactly. But the financials get even more fascinating when you realize the massive losses aren't just about factory building. They are deeply tied to a radical shift in what customers are actually buying.
Yes, the shifting product mix. This was wild to me. The average selling price, or ASP, of Leifuel's harmonic reducers is just plummeting.
Falling off a cliff.
Yeah, it went from 802 RMB in 2023 down to 724 RMB in 2024, and then down to 573 RMB in 2025.
But then look at the other side.
Exactly. The ASP of their joint modules skyrocketed. From 2,010 RMB in 2023 all the way to 7,074 RMB in 2025.
It's a massive divergence.
I mean, imagine if you sold cars and suddenly everyone only wanted to buy the steering wheels, but they wanted the absolute cheapest ones possible. What does this mean for your business?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it explains the entire shifting economics of the robot boom.
Okay, break that down for me.
So, the price of standalone reducers is dropping for two reasons. First, Layful is intentionally engaging in strategic price wars to capture market share.
Squeezing out the little guys.
Yeah, but second, and more importantly, the humanoid robot boom requires much smaller reducers compared to the heavy industrial robots of the past.
Right, because of the human geometry constraint we talked about.
Exactly. A smaller reducer uses less raw material, less steel and alloys, and it's cheaper and faster to machine. So the volume goes up, but the price per unit shrinks.
Okay, that makes sense for the cheap gears. But why are customers suddenly paying over 7,000 RMB for a joint module?
Because humanoid customers demand plug-and-play sophistication. They don't just want a raw gear anymore. They want the module loaded with low-voltage drivers, integrated braking systems, custom housings.
Water-resistant cables.
Yeah, all of it. They want the whole elbow pre-assembled, which is far more complex and expensive to build.
So you have the best technology, you're pivoting to high-margin modules, sales are booming. It all sounds like a great strategy. But as the prospectus shows, the actual daily operations of keeping the lights on are terrifyingly precarious.
It is an operational tightrope.
Seriously, let's look at the hidden vulnerabilities, starting with their cash conversion cycle. In 2025, it was a staggering 325 days.
Which is actually an improvement from 538 days in 2024.
Which is insane. I mean, think about this for your own life. This is like buying all your groceries today, cooking the meals over the next 6 months, and your guests not paying you for the dinner until a year later. How does a company survive that cash flow mismatch?
This raises an important question about survival in hardware versus software. In the hardware world, precision takes time. Layfuel's vertically integrated model creates incredible quality, but it means a lengthy production cycle.
Right, their inventory turnover was 184 days in 2025.
You literally have tons of specialized metal sitting in a warehouse, soaking up your capital for half a year before it's finished. And then they give major customers up to 180 days of credit.
So you wait another 6 months to get paid.
Exactly. And during all that waiting, they have an extreme cash burn rate of 15.5 million RMB every single month.
Just keeping the lights on and paying the workers.
Yeah.
And it gets scarier when you look at how they actually sell these things. You'd think they sell directly to big tech firms, but they rely heavily on distributors. Like 51% of their 2025 revenue came from distributors.
Right, because the market is still very fragmented. Thousands of smaller factories need these parts.
But the risk there is massive. If external partners misbehave or just fail to sell the product, Layfuel's entire revenue stream is instantly threatened.
And that's not their only concentration risk. Their top 5 customers account for 39.9% of their revenue.
Wow.
And their top 5 suppliers of steel and alloys make up 30.5% of their purchases. If one link in that chain breaks, the whole company feels it.
And we can see they've struggled under this pressure before. The draft mentions they actually terminated attempts to list on the SSC Star Market in 2022 and 2024.
Yeah, and there were some revealing minor compliance issues too.
Right, like the 3.6 million RMB shortfall in unpaid social insurance and housing funds.
And operating out of unregistered property leases. It just shows how messy scaling hardware actually is behind the scenes.
Yeah, it really is. Well, we've covered a massive amount of ground today. We've journeyed all the way from leader drives, sci-fi sounding micro-harmonic reducers in Detroit to the gritty, high-stakes financial ledgers of Layfuel in China.
From the lab to the ledger.
Exactly. We've learned that making robots move like humans requires incredible plus or minus 15 arc seconds of precision. But scaling that technology requires surviving brutal price wars, massive R&D costs, and agonizingly long cash conversion cycles.
And that is the true cost of the robot revolution.
So what does this all mean for you?
Well, here's something to think about. The entire focus right now is on building these small, cheap, ultra-precise joints for humanoid robots.
Right.
But as companies like Layfuel successfully drive the price of these robotic muscles down to just a few hundred RMB through sheer scale, what happens when this technology stops being just for robots?
Oh, wow.
Imagine a world where this cheap, hyper-precise motion technology is embedded into everyday household objects. Your kitchen cabinets, your office chair, your doors, all given smooth, robotic, human-like motion.
Because the parts are finally cheap enough to just put everywhere.
Exactly.
No.
How will that entirely redefine our relationship with the physical spaces we live in?